Welcome to another haunt review as we continue down our road, our 2019 travel path down the haunt season. And regretfully, today we are going to be making our final stop on the immersive horror side of things. But the good news is, I think we ended it with a bang and went to one of the originals. When you think immersive horror, at least for me, and I know for Trish as well, Blackout is one of the first ones that comes to mind. And that's where we're going today. We are going to take you as much as we can into Blackout, talk about our experience a little bit, and then talk about how we feel it did. And just like we do with every other spot, this one was really kind of an honor. Didn't think that Blackout was going to be coming back around ever. They kind of went on a hiatus there for a few years, and now they're back. And they were released back for this event, and they went all haunt season with it, and really cool show. We had a great time at Blackout. But when I think of Blackout, and we'll get into ticket prices and everything like that, they vary a good bit with their ticket prices. It really depends on the night that you're going. So we're not really going to even dive into that too much because there's just so many different prices. But it ranges in the $50 to $80-ish range is what you're going to be looking at to experience Blackout. If they come back, this might be their last round. So who knows? Who knows with these two guys, what they're doing or when they'll be doing it again. But for this experience, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was in New York City. And I believe that is usually where Blackout takes place 9 out of 10 times. From what I've been able to learn and from what I've been able to gather and see, Blackout seems to be primarily a New York City haunt. But that's where it was this time. And again, immersive horror has always been it's becoming a bigger part of Trish and I's lives. But when we first started looking into immersive horror, I remember watching a documentary on Blackout. And we watched this whole thing, and at the end of it, I think we were both just kind of like, ugh, I don't know if I could do that. But now, obviously we can, and we had an absolute blast. It definitely wasn't what we were expecting it to be, but I can remember one of the most impactful things, one of the things they talk about in the documentary, and then part of the reason it's called Blackout, is they black out all the windows, and they put up all of this dark plastic vinyl, and they cover up everything. And we're looking for the place, and when we find it, we kind of see the address on the door, and then I look up, and all of these windows are covered in that black garbage bag material, that black plastic. And it was a very surreal and one of the coolest moments I've ever felt at a haunt. Just realizing like this is the king. Blackout's supposed to be one of the best. It's one of the originals. It was supposedly gone, and now it's back, at least for this time. And it was borderline awe-inspiring to stand in front of that door and know that this is it, man. This is Blackout. You're about to experience it. It was such a cool feeling. Just absolutely one of the coolest feelings that I've ever got to experience. I don't know if Trish had that same feeling or not, but I definitely did. And very cool. So anyways, one of the things that was really cool about Blackout this year is that they did a Kickstarter to make sure that everybody was able to, or their actors and actresses were able to get paid for all the work that they do. And this and acting is tough. Especially doing it at the rate that they do it and the way that they do it and as much interaction that comes with it. This is not an easy job, and these people deserve to get paid for doing a good job, and I like that Blackout recognized that and wanted to make sure they did. So there was a Kickstarter program. Got us tickets, obviously, and then we were able to spend a little time backstage and getting to kind of see how this thing operates, and we got to see a scene develop. We're not going to talk about it, but it was very cool. To see how they kind of do things and how they kind of set scenes up and some of the safety precautions that they take, and just kind of how it all kind of bleeds together and how everybody works together as a team. And part of the thing that was really cool about seeing the particular scene that they showed us is when we went through it, we weren't able to see anything ourselves. You were, well, we'll say your sight was taken away from you pretty early on into the room, and then you just experienced it. And then that was the same scene they took us back into when they were kind of doing the behind the scenes area of it. And it was very cool to be able to see everybody doing their thing and lining everything up and setting everything up and making sure that things work properly and that the scene does exactly what it's supposed to do, and then bleeding right into the next guest coming through. It was so cool to see that well-oiled machine doing its thing. So we were pleased to be able to help with their Kickstarter program, and we were very excited to be able to experience that little bit of time backstage. It was very, very cool, and I'm really appreciative. Now, we can't really talk, obviously, about the specifics. You all know that, especially with immersive horror. We talk a little bit about some of the stuff in traditional haunts, but we don't talk about anything as far as what goes on inside of immersive horror, though we usually do take you right inside the front door, and that's what we're going to do again. When you first step inside for this particular attraction for the 10-year anniversary, greeted by one of the creators, which was very, very cool. We recognized him from the documentary. And just his interaction with you, it's perfect. It just feels Blackout because he's rude, but rude in a good way. We'd been walking through New York all day. We had all of our gear with us. I come in with this backpack, and I just kind of looked at him like, where do you want him to put it? And he's, just set the fuck over there. I don't give a shit where you put your stuff. Go walk over there, sign your waivers, get in line, and wait. And I like that because that's what Blackout is. And at least that's from what I had seen. And from what I had, from the research I'd done on it beforehand and, people talking about the experience, that's what Blackout seemed to be. And I was very excited to be there. You're assigned a number, you get your photograph taken, and then as you get ready to march back and begin your experience, you see the creator come out with somebody's shoe and a sock stuffed in it, and realize that this is definitely going to be a wild ride. And that it was. That it absolutely was. And regretfully, that's really as far as we can take you inside. If Blackout comes back around and they decide to do another go at this here, in the future or whenever it happens, highly recommend going because it's a very, very cool experience. It's definitely something you should check out when and if they do another set. But that's going to bring us to our ratings. We got five different categories we do with the immersive haunts. We will do the immersive experience itself, the physicality of the haunt, the acting inside of the haunt, the scare factor of the haunt, and then of course we'll wrap it up with an overall experience and our recommendations, whether or not this is one that we suggest you go to or not. So we'll start off with immersive, and Blackout scored a 7 out of 10. While you were immersed in the story, it was more of a story unfolding around you than it was you being the full center of it. I think the story was kind of each room had a different fetish, and it was cool to get to experience that different stuff. But it was more watching a story unfold before you than it was you being immersed completely in the story. So it was good. We really enjoyed it, but would have liked to have been more of the center focus and seen a little bit more of a cohesive story personally. So that's what kind of took a couple points away from the immersive experience there, but still a solid score, 7 out of 10. Physicality, we went with an 8 out of 10. It was a very, very physical haunt. I would have honestly liked to have seen it a little rougher, but that's not really what Blackout is. And that's a little bit of a misconception with them, is that they're this super extreme, brutal experience. And while there was some moments that you got tested a little bit, nothing that was that I would consider brutal or really too over the top physical. Very hands-on experience, but hands-on in a very good way. They did an excellent job with what they were trying to convey. And they did have a little test in there, a little moment where you got to see what you're made of. It was very cool. It was very well done. Physicality, it was very good. The only thing that held back, I like to get roughed up a little bit more, and I like to see that with some of these immersive haunts. And that was the only thing that really held them back at all. But still a solid score, 8 out of 10. That brings us to acting, and I'm always excited to get to say this. Perfect fucking score. 10 out of 10, man. Every actor kicked ass in this place. Every scene was done perfectly. There is a scene, and all I will say about this scene is that it does involve a toilet. And I hope the actor that was in that particular scene gets to see this, because wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job. Man, you killed it. To be able to bring the level of creepiness, a little bit of legit fear, and honestly a good bit of comic relief in the middle of this. Like, it was just this beautiful crescendo of getting to experience all those different emotions all at once. And this guy was on point. And everybody was on point. The acting was so wonderful. Don't have a single negative thing to say about any of the acting. Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. That brings us to scare factor. We're going with a 6 out of 10, but we are going with a disclaimer on this 6 out of 10. If things that are taboo isn't really your thing, if that's not something you can handle, you're going to have a really hard time getting through Blackout. While it's not extreme necessarily on the physical side, they do play with you mentally a good bit. And if you're not able to deal with things that are taboo, and you're not able to handle that, Blackout's going to scare the shit out of you, and it's going to make you consider whether or not you've made the right decision. But if you can handle taboo, honestly, it was about a 6 out of 10. Wasn't by any means the scariest immersive haunt or haunt period that we've done, but it was a lot of fun. And that's kind of why it sits at the 6. When I think back to Blackout, the story, the scenes were cool. It was awesome to watch it all unfold, but it was fun. I wouldn't really classify it on the scary side of things. So just a 6 out of 10 on the scare factor. Overall experience, they come away with a solid score, 7 out of 10. The thrill and rush of immersive horror alongside with just Blackout itself is always going to lead to a fun experience. And that's what we had here today, or had there that evening. Absolutely awesome experience. 7 out of 10. Highly recommend Blackout if they come back around and do another one. And again, as we do with every single immersive horror experience out there, please understand what you're signing up for. Okay? Understand that. Don't get mad and be like, the Haunted Honeymooners said to go, and then they did weird stuff to us. I understand what you're signing up for, because they're going to do weird stuff to you. But that's it. That's it for Blackout. 10-year anniversary. Such a privilege. Blackout, if you watch this, man, thank you all so much for coming back and giving us one more go around and giving us the opportunity to experience what has to be the original gangster of immersive horror. Thank you all so much.